Better life while you create your dream projects.
Even if it's only at the rate of one sentence a day. Life writing is the application of the tools of writing to life and the tools of life to your writing.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show, the big show, the show. Anyway, so good to be here. I'm actually in a very good mood
Oh, why are you
because
in a
I
good mood,
got
sweetie?
pretty big monkey off my back, which I guess I would like to talk about in a little segment we call What's Going On? Woo! So, if you don't mind, I'd like to start.
No, please do.
You did ask, so I will start. As much as I like to tell learning writers, let's call them, not just students, but sometimes people are well grown and out in the world and they're still learning writers. I like to tell learning writers it's important to learn how to outline. And that's a big part of what we teach in our life writing program. And, obviously there are people who like to pants their way through and they're never going to be strict outliners. And that is everybody has a different process. But while part of me likes to pants, I understand that writing outlines is an important skill. And as a matter of fact, I'm just finished an outline that I'm hoping to sell so that I can sell the book in outline form, which is one of the most fun reasons to write an outline. So even though I'm a huge proponent, I've seen it in the past. It can actually bring money into the house, which is huge incentive. I'm not going to lie and say I love it. Okay? I don't love it. I don't love writing outlines. I don't love trying to have a bird's eye view of a work that literally isn't written yet. Maybe I kind of have an idea of how the ending will look. Mostly, no, I don't. It's like a guesswork, like a guessing game, and to do it in a concise form that captures, especially when you're trying to sell the outline, right? So it's not just, oh, this happens, this happens, this happens. It's telling a story unto itself. Like this is a document that you want to be a page turner in 3 to 5 pages, the way it would be a page turner if it were a 500-page novel. So it takes a lot of practice, and I've been doing it a long time, and it's still not super comfortable. But luckily, I have a world-class author who lives in my house with me, and we've gone back and forth many times. And I finally got a draft that was in good enough shape that I was ready to send it to my agent. Applause, please. Thank you. Now I haven't heard his feedback yet, so that'll be a whole nother thing. But it just feels good to have it out. It's like having a small baby. I know babies are all small, but it's like a preemie baby. Like it's a baby, but it's not the whole thing, but you still feel that you have expelled something from your womb, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes sense because that is the metaphor that you use, and I think that that's a valid metaphor. You really do write as if you're giving birth. I mean, it is true. You are not good at breaking things down into pieces any more than you would perform a vivisection on a baby.
Right.
It is kind of like that. It's like you can either play with your dog or you can vivisect it. Vivisecting the dog will teach you lots of things about a dog, but it'll never play catch again. Um, it being able to to talk about, I mean, the ideal situation is you talk about the story as if you watched it last night or read it last week, and you're just telling about it to a friend. You say, "This is what happened. This is the story happened. There is this bar in Casablanca, and there's an expat, named this, and he does this, and so forth and so on." It's an art form in itself, and it's one of the things that you need to do if you're going to work in Hollywood. That's for damn sure. And it,
Yes.
and it's also true, it used to be, and I don't know whether or not this is to what degree it's still true, but it used to be that you could sell a book on 3 chapters and an outline. Now, it's probably still true for people who are experienced.
In nonfiction, it's more common.
Nonfiction is more common. Um, And if you sold a bunch of short stories and you sit down with an editor at a convention or and talk to them about what you're doing and they've read your short story, they might very well ask the question, well, what are you working on now? You know, when do you think you're going to be ready to move up to a novel? And you say, I think I'm ready now. Let me send you 3 chapters and an outline of what it will be. And if they like your writing in the short stories and they like you, you're very likely to be able to sell it right then and pay your bills for long enough to be able to write your damn book.
It's not
So
the usual way, but it absolutely happens, you
it
know?
absolutely happens. So what we talk about when we talk about applying the tools of story to life, what we're saying is to look at yourself as if you're the hero in an adventure that you're writing, not the villain, hopefully, hope to God, and hopefully not a spear carrier in your own life. You are telling a story about how you grew up, what it is that you did between birth and death, and your commitment to being the best you that you can be, because that's all you have to do. It's all you can do is be the best you can be. And I think that too often when you're a child, you do it the way your parents said, the way your teachers said, until this kind of the ideal situation, until you understand why they have you doing it that way, probably after you go out into the world and get your first couple jobs. Then you begin to find your way of doing these things and you become yourself. And it's like you start writing by imitating the writers that you love until you find your own voice. You start martial arts by imitating the way the teacher moves until you understand inside yourself why what produces that external movement, what combination of theories and fitness and intentions and values and so forth produces this action. What is this about? And at that point, you don't have to do it exactly the way the teacher did. In fact, you can't. Art demands that you express yourself. Craft might be about getting it exactly like the teacher, but art is being yourself. And
True.
that discipline of being an artist in your own life also involves learning the craft that takes you from childhood to adulthood so that you can define what that state is clearly and fulfill that. You support yourself, you have control over your own emotions and so forth. Tananarive and I will go back and forth about what's going on here because remember, Tananarive is a world-class writer. She's just one of the best. She just is. And that means that the majority of what she knows is sitting at unconscious competence. She doesn't think about it. This is just who she is. So
So
she
yeah,
can't.
but when you're doing an outline, it forces you to think about it in some ways that is like writing with my left hand, kind of like nonfiction. I don't mean to jump in, but
No,
I
no,
do.
no, please do.
I'm just going to finish up on my outlining story and then let you talk about what's going on with you. But one of the things that happened for those of you who also struggle with outlines, and I think we talked about this a little bit last time, is that between the initial conversation I had with my agent when I kind of beat out for him like what was in my head and the my efforts to write an outline that ultimately was about 6 pages. What I sent to my agent was 6 pages. Steve wanted it down to 3 pages. So it started at like 21 pages. And then I shrank that down to 6 pages. And then I shrank that down further to 3 pages because that was what Steve said he needed to really see the beats and make sure that the story flowed. The 3 page version is the most comfortable for him, but I couldn't write that one first. I've never been able to write that one first. It had to be like, wow. Because what's happening is while I'm working on the outline, I'm going into flow. And while I'm going into flow, guess what? I'm pantsing. I'm pantsing while I'm writing the outline. And that's when I'm starting to learn things about the characters and dynamics and like, oh, I guess, yeah, maybe she's having nightmares too. And oh, maybe, yeah, it makes sense if this happens too. And a lot of that is throat clearing backstory. It's not the kind of thing that makes a compelling page turner if you're trying to pitch it to somebody, but it's the very thing that's bringing it to life for me so that I can then create that page turnery outline. Like I know the characters as well as I can know them from this distance. I mean, and I can't tell you how many times I wanted to just start writing the scenes, like just jump in. I could feel it at the tip of my fingertips. And as an author and a writer, you seek that feeling where it's not typing, where it's trying to like push itself out and you can't wait to start working on it. That's the best feeling. But because I wasn't doing that yet, like, no, not now. We're just trying to do the outline, calm down with the scenes. I don't need to hear her voice talking to me in my head yet quite so much. So it's an interesting process, and I'm so excited that I finally got through it. That's why I'm in such a good mood,
Well, that's fantastic. Hold
or at
on.
least through it so far, let's say.
Ah,
Unless my agent says this is perfect, let's send it. I don't know, but that's rare. He's a tough cookie.
and
He's
so he should be,
he's not
because,
an
my only goal in my career is to make my agent rich off of his 10%. So, or 15% actually now. They've increased that, which is a kind of
mm.
interesting. So, if I were to take a look, first of all, Tenerife, we also took two two lunch meetings uh,
Oh yeah, we sure
this
did.
this week, um, with a producer, actually with two different producers, with two different producers, one regarding the keeper, and one regarding another project. And what's happening right now is that we're jockeying to direct our next movie. I mean, that we did the short film, The Keeper, and what we found out was that we can do this. That if you surround yourself with really good people and you have a vision for it, that if you can communicate that vision to the people who have to execute, your cinematographer, your editor, um, the lighting people, the actors, and so forth, that's the work that they will do it if you're presenting a consistent vision. So we have to understand enough to know what we don't know. Our producers understand the interface between the artist and the money people, and they're about, how do you organize, how do you plan, how do you get the money, how do you spend the money once you got it. Critical skill. You'll notice that directing is a step up, I think, from writing, in terms of overall skills that are necessary. And production then is producer is is similar to a director in the sense of the importance there, but you'll notice that most people are not producers and directors. Most people are one or the other. Um, a lot of directors become producers. I don't know how many producers become directors, but I think that a lot of people who are artists and direct eventually want to take over more responsibility for putting the pieces together, arranging for the parts. So we have these conversations, and in both cases, they are challenging us, but it looks like the next year is going to be very interesting in terms of opportunities to grow. Oh no, not another growth opportunity. Um, in terms of writing directly, I finished a novella. Finished at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if we have to go back and work on it. That I'm working on with my mentor, Larry Niven. I'm also working on the novel it started out as a reworking of my novel, The Kundalini Equation, which was the fourth novel I ever did, and has turned into its own thing, which is kind of natural. That I literally ended up having to throw half of a book away because I realized it was not what I wanted it to be, what I needed it to be. After being in the hospital and dying, basically, one gains clarity on values. And I don't want to do what I was doing at that period in my life, nor do I want to be limited by that. There's something else that I want to do that is closer to the core of my being, which is what, let's say, Ryan Coogler did with his career. He's expressing things that were part of an internal integration in childhood. His relationship with his mom and dad, his football playing, his wanting to do. He is being himself in a way that I realized when I saw Sinners, I had never been. That I had never been as much myself and touched that part of me in that way as he did. In fact, I don't do it as much as Tananarive does. So you know, there is a big chunk of me that is all about when I realize I have a need, let me find someone who does this better than me. That's not putting myself down. I have a very specific set of skills. But in gaining new skills that are important, that might raise me to the next level, it's like, okay, I'm married to somebody who looks at this question differently. Let me integrate her skills. Down that road someplace is Ryan Coogler. You know, closer is Jordan Peele. You know, Jordan Peele as a writer, remember he had a completely different career as a comedian. So he's got that mastered, and now he's mastering this other thing over here. So it's hardly surprising that he is, first of all, fantastic, but I can see what he's doing better. You know, maybe because I've listened to more of what he said about what he does. Maybe so. I don't know. He's exemplary. He's wonderful. And, you know, life would be great if I had an opportunity to play with him so I could learn from him too. But it's just, you know, one week at a time, one day at a time, the first hour of the day at a time, the first 5 minutes of the first hour at a time. So this is all the way back to what it is that we ask everybody who is on these calls to do, because we're looking at how do you make progress in all three major areas of your life at the same time? Your physical health and fitness, your emotional health and fitness within yourself, your self-love, as well as your ability to navigate relationships or find love, and your career. You know, your hunting and gathering, your ability to create goods and services that you can exchange with your community for money. Nothing works like money in the arenas in which money works, and money has rules. So how do you follow those rules in alignment with your physical health, your emotional well-being, and your sense of values? You know, who is it that I am in the world, and how can I leverage that into something that supports me? And it is my belief, absolutely, that it is 100% possible. And to the degree that I can explain how to test these assumptions, you can find out in 2 hours, or less, really, in 1 hour, you can decide for yourself whether or not what I'm saying is true. And that is, what are you doing in the first 5 minutes of your day? What we say about that is that there are 5 steps, each of which takes about a minute. And the first step is when you first wake up in the morning, just find your breathing and connect to your breathing and give thanks for being alive. In the next minute, find your heartbeat and connect to your love, what you love, and loving yourself, and give thanks for the love in your life. Gratitude is very big. The third minute, you find the light behind your eyes and you visualize where you want to be, you know, in a year or whatever. That sense of purpose and clarity. And you think through the steps of what we call the magic formula, the MAGIC, your mapper model, how you're going to do it, your the actions you're going to take by 1 o'clock today. What 3 tiny things are you going to do to take just a step? Just a step. It's like the 1% improvement by 1 o'clock today. What are you going to do? It can be tiny, but just take that step. The G is gratitude. You've already done that. I'm grateful for being alive. I'm grateful for the things I love. I'm grateful for hope and opportunity. The I is intention. That's your goal. What is it that you want to accomplish? Ideally over the course of an entire lifetime. But certainly, where do you want to be this time next year? You know, and if you have a goal physically, like I would like to learn ballroom dancing, I would like to have a date night every week with my wife, and have better communication with my kids, and love myself more, and have greater consistency in my emotions, something like that. And then in terms of your career, I would like to pay off all my debts. You know, I would like to start an investment account and have $10,000 in that account by this time next year. Once you have defined those things, you then get to ask yourself, what kind of person can have those things? What does that person do every day? Then it's just a matter of keeping track. Are you doing it or not? Can you keep your word to yourself? Can you say, and it starts with that first 5 minutes. I love people who will argue with me that they don't have the time to do that, and they spend more time arguing than they needed to spend doing the thing. They are afraid of change. They're lying to themselves. They're afraid of believing that they can have the things that they want in life. And I empathize with that. A guy I've dealt with fear, that was crippling for years. One of the major things that I went into the martial arts for was to understand what fear was. And I was dealing with so much fear that it took me 23, 24 years to earn my first black belt because I was just dealing with it and dealing with it. And I got, it was awful. And I remember asking myself, why do I force myself to do this? I don't have to do this. Nobody would criticize me if I stopped doing it. Most people stop doing it. Why can't I? And I know that it's because if I hadn't done that, I would not understand. I would not have clarity about what fear is and how much it hurts us. And fear is our emotions are messages, not commands. They are telling us to pay attention to something, not telling us we can do something, we must do something, or that we can't do something. That's not what emotions are for. Pay attention to your emotions, but observe them. Don't say, I am angry, as much as I am experiencing anger. I'm experiencing frustration. The instant you separate yourself from the emotion and realize you are observing it rather than being controlled by it. Now, there are times just let yourself get swept away by emotion. Absolutely. We all know some of those times. We're all adults here, right? But in life, when you find your emotions are deviling you or stopping you from writing that book, or paying your bills because you're afraid of opening the bill and looking at it, or admitting that you were wrong, or telling someone that you love them, or or admitting that you want money. So many times I see people lying about that. They'll talk about money doesn't matter, and then half their complaints are about lack of money. It's like, my God, will you listen to yourself? Will you realize what you're doing to yourself by not being honest about the fact that you want health and fitness, you want love, and you want success? Maybe all you want the money for is to be able for money to move to the category of being a tool rather than an obstacle. Maybe that's all it is. You'd like to be able to help yourself, help your community. That's good because, the Dalai Lama makes a comment that the meaning of life is to escape suffering, embrace joy, and be of service. And whereas money isn't all that great for happiness, it's great at relieving certain kinds of suffering. I mean, it's great at that. The statistics used to say maybe 10 years ago, so maybe the amount has gone up, but up to $100,000 a year, money is great for relieving pain. I mean, it really is. Your health insurance, a roof over your head, food on your table, basic things like that. But once you've got those basic things, the efficiency and effectiveness of money at making happiness begins to drop off. By the time you're up there in six figures, if you still think money is the most important thing, you're probably in danger of going the wrong direction. The people who are healthy, who make a ton of money, are not trying to make money. They're playing a game, or they're getting good at something. They're doing something that they love doing and want to master. That, by the way, it makes a lot of money. So Stephen King is worth over $100 million, but he's not trying to make money. He's writing. He loves writing. He loves telling stories. He just was both fortunate and crafted himself enough to write the kinds of things that appeals to a large audience. We reward him in the only way we can, by giving him money. So to if you start with the belief that it is possible for you to have the things that you really want and be in integrity with yourself and have a good time doing it, have fun doing it. I mean, it's like, remember, embrace joy. If you're not having fun, are you living yet? If you believe it's possible, the next thing is how. Now, before I open this up or turn this back over to Denonry, I mentioned to Alexander James Adams, one of our people here, that when I used to do life writing workshops, these workshops of applying writing tools to life, there was an exercise that we had to do, and there were three stages of that exercise. The first stage was to write your child's story. It's just one paragraph. Once upon a time, there was a boy who didn't have a father and wanted to be a man, and was dealing with massive fear and didn't have any friends. Whatever my story is about myself, how I became the person I am today. So that's your child story. The next is your obituary, your adult story. So if the child story is how you became who you are right now, your obituary, your adult story, is in short form the rest of your life. And you could do it the way somebody would read your obituary at your funeral, or publish it in the paper, or looking back from the moment of death. It's from now until the day you die. So it's everything you want to be and have and do in that page, and it's about 3 pages. Let's say it's about 3 pages. Stephen Barnes, had been a writer and novelist, and he began directing movies, and he made X number of movies, and he did this, and he bought a house here, and he got his fifth black belt doing this, and he when he died, he was surrounded by his family in a beautiful house in such a place, and he will be missed. That's a story, because it implies my physical, at what age did I die? I'm planning to live to be 120. We'll see. Um, my emotions, surrounded by my family. I'm still married to the woman that I love. My children love me. I have friends, all as well. And my career, what did I accomplish and do? And you say these things such that if somebody's going to say, you're going to write this in 3 pages, this is what you're going to get out of life. Be sure that you don't miss anything critical. And then the last part of it, so the first is a child story, about a paragraph. The second is your adult story, your obituary, about 1 to 3 pages. The fourth thing is your warrior statement. It's your statement of being willing to do whatever it takes to protect your child's dreams, the child within you, the little one who started out this path called life. I commit that I will sell my life dearly to protect the dreams of that child. I will get him his movie. I will keep him on the path of martial arts as long as he possibly can. I will protect his family, and I will protect his dreams, and I'll put my life between that boy's dreams and harm. That kind of thing. The kind of statement that says clearly, who are you in the matter of your life, in the matter of what it is that you're trying to do. Because ultimately that's what it's going to come down to. Who are you? Who do you want to be? Who are you? And who were you? That exercise was one of the things that we did in that workshop. And if you guys like the idea, we can bring that into this space. And I will read you, my version of it. You can read me your versions of it. But what I want before, when we open up, the first thing I want to know is, how did you do in the first 5 minutes of your day? Did you connect with your breath and your life? Did you give gratitude? Did you understand what you need to do today to be in integrity with your long-term goals? And then did you get up and do one sun salutation? That's the fifth thing. So you connect with your breathing and give thanks for life, your heartbeat and give thanks for love, the light in your mind and give thanks for hope, ambition, growth, evolution. You get up and you write down the 3 things you're going to do by 1 o'clock in order to move your life a step forward. Small things, tiny steps. And the last thing is you do one sun salutation, one ground engagement. In other words, go down to the ground, get back up. That is the primary human motion. If you cannot get down on the ground and back up again, you cannot live by yourself. So there are 2 primary motions. One is getting up and down, the other one is walking. That's what the Warrior Walk program is built on. You can get that at www.warrior-walk.com. And if you look at that, if you go to that page and you see what's in that book, and you say to yourself, I would love to do this, but I don't have the money, get in touch with us and we will get you a free copy. No catches. This is not a game. We really want you to succeed. I love money. I love making money. And if you can afford to, I will take your money gladly. But if you can't afford it, let us know. We want you to be happy, healthy, and a force for good in the world. And you can't do that without being a force for good in yourself. Tananari, do you have anything you'd like to add before we open it up and start soliciting
Yeah,
comments,
I think
questions, and requests?
I think I'll just touch on what I talked about in my newsletter today. If somehow you're here listening to this, but you did not get my newsletter or you are not subscribed to my newsletter, it's tananarivelist.com, tananarivelist.com. And of course, you can always hang out with us on our social media site for writers, Life Writing on Circle, which is LifeWrite, WRITE.com. So please do join us. It's a great site, vibrant,
And
more
it's
exciting all
free,
the time. And it's
totally
free.
free.
And what I discuss, because when I do the newsletter, it's kind of like, oh, what am I going to talk about now? And I generally just try to pluck the thing that is at top of mind. So of course I mentioned that I had finished the outline, but what I also wanted to a little bit, and I think I've discussed here previously, but I think I want to elaborate on it, is the relationship between current events, world events that just seem more and more surreal, more and more troubling. Like the deeper we get into the year, the deeper we get into this administration, it's like if we had seen any one of these headlines 20 years ago, we would have thought, well, that's going to be a huge big deal. And it's not. It's not a big, it's just Tuesday. So it's frustrating. And the thing that was really, really getting to me, and I know it's getting to a lot of people because it's one of the themes in Cross, the series on Amazon. If you watch Cross, it was almost like fantasy fulfillment, seeing someone trying to take action, even if it's revenge, against predators, against offenders, people who've built wealth off of death. And in many ways, that is what happened in Marianna, Florida, with the Dozier School for Boys, which I based the novel The Reformatory on, was a small community was able to create wealth for itself by hosting a children's prison. That children's prison provided employment. There was free child labor to grow corn. It ran the county's printing press. It was a huge part of this community, which is why it took more than 100 years to shut this place down, even though it had complaints almost from day one. Like it would be had complaints. The complaints would get aired. I'm sure there were promises to fix it, and then it wouldn't get fixed. And it's just because the very idea of a children's prison is sort of evil at its core, if you really think about it. So it's natural that it's going to draw predators and that people are going to dehumanize these children. They've already been dehumanized. They're locked up. So, after writing Maisie Wood, which is my new novel coming out in September, which is scary, don't get me wrong, and there is a tragedy at its underpinning, don't get me wrong, but it was so much way more fun to write and research than The Reformatory. There are scenes that take place in Gracetown. I do love Gracetown because it's my little magical, town. Some people might compare it to Castle Rock, but to me, as I've said, it's Yakima County from Faulkner, but with magical realism. And there are a couple little scenes, but they're more joyful scenes, right? As I think I've mentioned. They're just sort of weird, scary, mysterious scenes, not heartbreak, 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 right? But after I wrote Maisie Wood, I got that out of my system. I had a blast researching old Hollywood. Because of current events, I found myself curious, whatever did happen with the Dozier School? I mean, the Florida state has voted to give reparations to survivors. There's a memorial. There's my book. There's Colson Whitehead's book, The Nickel Boys, about it. I mean, it's famous. So surely somebody went to jail, right? And so I finally, after years, was able to pick up the book by Erin Kimmerly, who was the forensic anthropologist who ran the research that unearthed my great uncle's bones at that school. She wrote a book called We Carry Their Bones that I had just sort of read here and there, like to read about Robert Stevens, but I really couldn't read it. I couldn't go back to the Dozier School. I couldn't sink into that research. But now that I was wondering about who paid, I voraciously went back to finish that book. I listened to the audiobook, and guess what? No arrests. No one held accountable. And it just felt all too freaking familiar. And that rage, which is the thing my agent is always looking for, because often I get so excited when I'm talking about a book idea, he gets worried, like, well, where's the rage? Because to him, the rage is where the core of the creativity burns. Like that's what's going to make this book pop. And I had plenty of it when I was writing the Reformatory. He wasn't so sure I had enough rage when I was working on Maisie Town, but then I told him some of my Hollywood stories. He's like, "You're good. You're good." And the rage is back, baby. The rage is back. And so my new novel, I'm not going to even discuss the title of it anymore. In fact, after this, until I'm writing it, I'm not even going to discuss it publicly anymore because I learned from the Reformatory that you can talk a book to death. You can talk so much about what you're supposed to be writing that you literally are never writing it. And I have not started page one of this book. So this is the last time I'm going to talk about it publicly. And I'm not going to talk about the title because I don't want anyone to steal it, although some of you know what it is. And it was planted in both the Reformatory and in Maisie Wood. But I am going to put and channel all of that rage into this story about the legacy of evil that goes unpunished in a small town. And, there are things that we can do in the world that help make a difference, or in our communities or in our families, but so often we feel helpless. I am just so grateful that I have fiction to help me process. And as I told a group of students who were in a dystopian times kind of class, like being an artist in dystopian times, art is so, so, so important right now. For the artist to give us peace and joy and a way to channel. But then if we're lucky enough to share that art with other people, it helps them escape even for 5 minutes in the waiting room in ICU, like when they're, as I listened to a lot of S.A. Cosby when Steve was sick, or whatever it is, or it can be an actual primer, like Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower. This is how you stay awake. This is how you stay alert. This is how you pack a go bag. It can be literally instruction on surviving dystopia. But whatever function it is, whether it's escapism or a literal primer, I'm so, so grateful for art and for the opportunity to share my art and hopefully inspire other artists who are on that same path. And that's all I'm going to say.
Well, that's enough, sweetheart.
Yes.
And what I would like to do now is allow you guys to ask any questions you have. Tell us about your wins, losses, thoughts, what's going on in your lives, and how we can help you. Your comments, questions, and requests. If you have wins, please share them. But I will definitely be asking you, what did you do in your first 5 minutes? So, who's going to raise your hand? Volunteer, or you will be voluntold. Okay, nobody's put their hands up at this moment. So I'm going to call a new face. Rebecca Gordon. Hello, sweetie.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Well, my
That looks
big
like a
win,
very comfortable space you have there.
it is. I'm very pleased, even with extra clutter today, which is sort of bothering me a little. But my win is that I get to be here now on Fridays, that I have rearranged my life. And so finally, after years of vowing to be here, here I am. And
Well,
that's
I'm
really exciting
delighted.
to me.
So
Welcome.
why don't you are so incredibly welcome. And where would you like to be in a year? Because we really like having goals that we can dig into so you can see whether or not this works for you. If it
Oh,
does, you'll see it within a few weeks. If it doesn't, go with God. So your body, your emotional relationships and relation with yourself, if you're experiencing fear and stress, or career things, you want to have a different relationship with money. So where do you want to be in a year?
so in a year, I would like the book I'm working on to be in the rear view and out in the world. I'm a media scholar and a forensic anthropologist, and a media scholar, I'm a horror scholar. So I've been writing about mummies in horror
Wow.
films and fiction. And
So have you
I would,
published?
I've published articles and book chapters, but this is my first
Okay.
book.
So
Um, it's nonfiction. Um,
it's a nonfiction book, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
you have published articles. Good. That's
yeah,
fine. Because if it was a fiction book, we'd want you to have published short stories. But
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
nonfiction book. So did you get here because you know Tananarive? Or
Um,
you were connected to her?
On social media, I actually took your Sunken Place class
Okay, great.
way, way
Let
back.
me ring Tananarive in if she's present so that she can I will wait for her to pop back up. So what we okay, yes, good. So
Yeah.
Tananarive, interact with this lady.
Hi.
Hi. I feel
Um,
like it's like speed dating. Like,
I know, I know. I thought I was just gonna like lurk here in this like first session I finally gotten to attend, and here I am on call, and I'm harnessing my fear to experience it, not to be besieged by it.
yes,
I
that
can
is
talk a good
so
game
well
about
put.
that. No, that was really helpful. To hear that in reframed from Stephen.
Yeah,
Um,
it's true, and I teach the Sunken Place started as a UCLA course, which I'm still
mhm,
teaching, every quarter. And so reading the student essays about how their eyes have been opened to horror, that is
mhm,
more than what they thought. It's more than jump scares. It's more than blood on the wall. Even if you take out deeper themes, like in a movie like Sinners or Get Out, which is social horror and which is very intentionally trying to message things about the world. Even a standard haunted house story, a standard demon possession story is helping us visualize the things that are the very most frightening things we can imagine. That is helpful just
mhm.
because hopefully when you compare it to real life, what you're going through isn't so bad. It's getting harder and harder to have that standard. But as a society anyway. But the other part, and I think the crucial part, and the thing that keeps me coming back is the creation of these characters who can stand up to it and who always feel ill-equipped for the job, almost always, because often in horror, the character didn't even know about the damn thing before the story started, and now you gotta face it and fight it? Like, what? So that just, to me, I just can't get enough of it. I love that dynamic of personal heroism, even when characters don't survive in facing the monster, or sometimes we relate to the monster as the outsider. It's a great field, horror.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
let me ask an important question, sweetheart. And that is, what do you need to do every day or every week in order to stay on schedule with your plan?
Um, Maurice, I'll happily take questions. So I need to be in this chair and I need to be focused on the material I have gathered and the material that I'm working with. And I've got to
How
stick to
many
my
pages a day
schedule.
do you need to write, edit, whatever? So, because quantification allows you to start using both sides of your brain. You know, one
Yep.
side of your brain counts numbers and the other part has feelings. Kind of, sort of. That's not exactly true here,
No, no, I agree.
but it's roughly true. So if you can both say, I want to be incredibly proud of this book, and you think, and in order to do that, I need to do 3 pages a day. Something like that, so that you can really harness yourself. So what do you need to do every day in order to stay on track?
So to stay on track at this point, because I do have about 50,000 words, but don't get too excited about that because it's the exciting kind of hot mess. When I say it's a hot mess, that's not derogatory.
Yeah.
It's all of the ideas are there. And so as long as I'm really shaping and thinking through a good, and it's hard with nonfiction for me to think in page terms the way I do, like with screenwriting or I have a
Okay,
film
so let me ask
background.
you a
But
question.
it's about 3 pages a day. If I can write it and
Okay,
edit
good,
three
good.
pages a day,
Because
I'm really in good shape
if
Yeah, that's
you have
good. That's
to
published
good.
get this.
articles, then you're probably okay. You know
Mhm.
what is getting ready and you know what is working, okay? And you know
Mhm.
what
And
is
I know what's
polishing.
not working.
Yeah, well, until you've done it, even after you've done it, there's still stuff you don't know. But if you
Mhm.
haven't done it, then make the assumption. There's a
Mhm.
whole world of things I do not understand about this, including who it is that I need to be. But
Mhm.
if you imagine the woman holding the copy of the book, maybe signing them, in a line of people eager to read, or you're up there on the stage and you're talking to the audience, whatever, and that woman who's completed it, who published it, and is proud of it,
Mhm.
that woman has wisdom to offer you. So literally being able to visualize the older version of yourself and ask her, what do you think of what I'm doing right now? And she will, you might find that stepping out of yourself like that is very useful for being able to look at, how can I improve about this? How can I get better about this? Because all you have to do is aim at improving a tiny percent every week. I generally will say a minimum of 1% improvement per week, a maximum of 1% per day. More than, that, very few people can handle that much change, and it'll whiplash you. But some
Mhm.
people are ready for the storm. But if you think, okay, I just need to get better 1% per week, the person who had improved 1% per week, it has improved about 80% in a year. And would that person be able to do the thing that you're trying to do, that you're committed to doing, and do it with power as well as joy?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I hope the answer is yes. I think the answer is yes.
No,
I,
your
I believe the answer
commitment
is
needs
yes,
to be yes.
but yeah, that's the challenge is, in these sort of up moments where, you're feeling very supported by a community, it's very easy to say yes. I think the
So
big
let us
challenge is always
support
when you're
you
alone.
in getting your first 5 minutes of the day. When you first wake up, before the world tells you who you are, you have to say, I am this. This is who I am. And if you connect with that in your first 5 minutes, then you come closer to being able to own your first hour. And in the first hour of the day, it's like our whole process for writing is write at least one sentence a day. If you have an absolute commitment to writing one sentence a day, you will find yourself doing a lot more than that. Because
Mhm.
that one sentence requires you move through all of your resistance. Oh, I need to do more research. I need to do this. I need to. No, you need to write. That writers write. Authors have written and publish. Okay, so you want to be a writer and an artist, because a writer and an author, because if you just want to be an author, you might use AI or something like that. That gets you published, but you're not a writer. You want to not only get the book out there, but to have the satisfaction of knowing you have expressed your essence. Because I can promise you, at the moment of death, you ain't gonna care about how many books you sold. You will care about whether or not you've lived in alignment with your values. I can promise you that because I've been there. And that's what matters. So by understanding the macro, and then what is the micro that fits into that? The smallest unit is either, for writing would be a sentence a day. The smallest unit for a human being is master your first 5 minutes. Just get that. If you can get that, start with connecting with your breathing, remembering who you are, and giving gratitude for life. If you will do that for the next week, come back here, we'll give you the next piece. But if just that, and if you can also write your goals down, what are you going to do in the first chunk of the day? You get the hard stuff, done by one, as Brendan Bouchard says. Get, eat the frog first. Whatever it is that's hard, that actually represents forward movement, it's connecting with your heart, doing some exercise, going out for a nice walk. The most common exercise for writers: go for a walk. Walking is
Mhm.
fantastic exercise. Get in touch with your heart, love yourself. That little girl who started the journey, you're still keeping her dreams alive. You still love her, you still know her. And you're going to get that book done, and you're going to get paid well for it, and you're going to change a lot of people's minds. Those three things: who am I? What do I love? What do I do?
Mhm.
First
I may
five
have
minutes of the day.
I may suddenly have to mute because I live near the Pentagon and there I can hear the planes coming.
Mm.
So if I
Hopefully,
suddenly
they're not
mute,
coming
that's
too close.
yeah, I know. They go back and forth between Andrews Air Force Base all day long now, these
Yeah.
big helicopter planes. So if I
Okay.
suddenly mute
So,
you out, it's not. But that
so
is great. I
anyway,
was listening.
welcome,
Thank
and
you.
come on back and let us know how we can serve you. Okay.
And you and Maurice can chat, hopefully
Yes.
talk in the chat.
Okay.
Yes,
So
yes.
let's
Thanks
see
so
who's
much.
next. Who's
Yeah. Hear from someone
next?
else.
Absolutely. Let me pick on somebody. Anybody want to raise your hand? Or are you going to let me pick you? Okay, Jaime.
Good morning. Hello, everybody. So,
Hey.
a couple of successes and one interesting, I don't want to call it a failure, but it's definitely one of those growth experiences. Um, Back in 2023, when I first took the life writing course, we did the obit and the child story exercises and all that. And because of the death of my pastor, I've been reviewing that stuff. And it's funny how many of the things from my obit are already true in my life just a few years later. The main success is that I started doing my taxes for 2025, and my 2025 income was 3 times larger than my 2024 income, which
Excellent.
is a major win because I didn't believe it was going to happen, and it did.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that
Yay.
is fantastic. That's real world results. That's big boy stuff right there.
So the interesting challenge that hit me this week, because I've observed in other people, it's harder to see it in myself, but you start having some success and it's really easy to slip into a little bit of arrogance, like I got this. And I was doing my morning ritual. I've been getting between 5 and 7 every morning.
Good.
7 is a little too much for me. I find
No, you
myself
can only
going,
get 5 points in the morning. You can get another
yeah,
5 points in the evening.
right, right. I find if I go higher than 5 for a day, the growth is too fast
Gotcha.
and I need to slow it down. And what happened was I was doing my morning ritual yesterday, along with making my first cup of morning coffee. And as I was waiting for the water to boil, I noticed that my sourdough starter needed feeding. So I fed my sourdough starter, and then I took the goopy spoon and I was walking it to the sink, and it flew out of my hands onto the kitchen floor. And I let loose a rant of expletives at the universe. Like, was that effing necessary? And it was just that little road sign saying, oh, no matter how good you're doing for that first hour of the day, there is still room for some emotional maturity and emotional
So
growth
let me ask
here.
you a question. How long did it take you to regain your emotional balance?
Probably about 5 minutes, maybe 10.
Okay.
So I'm feeling pretty good about
Yeah,
that.
there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody loses their balance because balance dynamically does not exist. You're not a stool. You're a
Right.
unicycle. Okay?
So,
So it's a constant thing of slightly getting out of balance this way and then regaining it. This way and then regaining it. So if you got back on your balance within 10 minutes, that's that's great.
so the other thing that's happening here, and this is where the physical grounding, the sun salutation, other exercises and things are so critical. I've got enough time yet and I'm making progress, but my knees started giving out in January.
Ah,
And as I do the exercises, I have to be really careful about keeping that pain threshold below 3.
yes.
Because what's happening is on March 30th, I'm leaving for 2 weeks in rural China.
Wow.
And I bought myself a vacation back in September, October, and I'm going in 2 weeks. But the part of China I'm going to is still rural enough that their toilets are just a hole in the floor with 2 bricks to stand on next to it. So I have to be able to squat and then get up from the squat.
That's going to be an adventure.
And I'm kind of counting on the Warriors walk between now and then to give my knee the strength it's going to need for the first 2 weeks of April. I'll let you know when I get home how
Yeah, please
successful.
do. And the knee is an extremely complex structure. I assume that you've had a doctor look at it so you know where you are.
Not yet. It's
Yeah,
one of
do
those
that.
things where that's on the agenda.
Do that, so that you are sure where you are and continue to work it every day. Knee circles in different
Yep.
ways so that you're working consciously with every flexion that the knee does. So that when most of the time you're unconscious about that. So the point is to spend a small amount of time being hyper conscious of every basic thing that you want your body to do. Because, like I said, the majority of life is unconscious competence. walking down the street enjoying the sunset. You don't want to be thinking about your knee.
Right.
You want to be thinking about, the birds and, whether or not that pit bull is friendly and, stuff like that. You're paying attention to the outer world. So, you know, the focused time of paying attention to your inner world is what enables you to live your life in the outer world, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Okay.
It's a curious thing how this body changes as it ages.
Yeah.
I'm still able to get down into the squat real easy, pushing up out of the squat. Ooh my.
So that is one of the ways that the the Turkish get up
Yeah.
is
Yep.
work, because the Turkish get up is seven different movements. It's about seven different movements. And so once you separate them into each individual one and and think about it separately, what you've got is the complete range of what you need to get up and down from the toilet. Okay.
Yep.
You know exactly what you need to do, how you need to breathe, what you need to tense, what you need to relax, the balance you need to have. You're constantly experimenting with these things so that the changes in your body do not take you by surprise.
Well, and I think part of telling it here is to help hold myself accountable.
That's right. So what can we do to support you?
Just this is terrific to be here, get reminded of these things, let you know what I'm doing, what I'm going. Um, with the things that have been going on, I might be a little absent here for the next
Yeah.
3 weeks or
Have
so
a
because
wonderful time. Life, it's not that life gets in the way. It's that life is the real thing that this is about. This is
yep,
the training. Go have fun. Come back
I'll
having had an adventure.
I'll see you in mid-April.
That's right. You take care and
Thanks.
reach out to me on Facebook or whatever or wherever if there's any service I can give you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Take care, buddy. All right, Mo. We always have to have a little bit Mo.
A little bit more, everything in Mo.
So
All right.
tell me what your first 5 minutes was.
Wake up. And I said, thank you, Lord. I
Okay,
said, thank you, Lord. And I breathed. And as I
good,
was breathing, because I had an emergency where I had to get my car towed, I didn't know what I was going to do yesterday. And I got some retroactive payment that handled all of that.
great.
I was out of the blue. I did not expect it. Then Adobe had also refunded part of my money for Creative Cloud because they've been double billing me. So that was another thing. After that, I got up to CJ. He didn't want to move, yada, yada, yada. But I made him, God, to get up and say, thank you, God. And then help told him, come on, let's go ahead and breathe and everything. He said, Dad, is that enough? No, I have a list for you to do. And then I decided the things I needed to do today, which was get the battery set up, get it delivered, um, continue to work in a situation with soul bones. I keep obsessing over minutia and making sure it's edited properly. I was very grateful for some other things that had happened. I started to look at my intention and where I'm going and how I'm even going to get to completion of things. And even though something had happened that derailed me a bit, but it was okay. I handled that. That's the thing you have to do. I also took the time to read, in this case, now it's interesting, you said, wake up, breathe, and listen for the heartbeat. And that's what we used to do, when I was in the dojo at Morehouse. So I got into that, and because I had been having issues with dreaming and waking up at 3:30 every morning on the dot. And my doctor told me that's the end of REM sleep. These phases you're going through, and probably my
Let me
blood
ask you
sugar
the
has
question. Let me
dropped.
ask you a question.
Sure,
Do
sure.
you remember anything about your dreams?
Yes, I do. And I
And
write
I
them
see
down.
when you brought up dreams, my assumption is that dreams are important in terms
Yes.
of, that you wouldn't have mentioned that if it didn't have some importance. So what's going on? Is there something that is happening in your dreams
Oh,
that
perpetually.
you would like to offer us to help us understand where you are? or what's going on?
Yes. So
What kind of dreams
perpetually,
are they?
well, I'm back at Morehouse again,
Uh-huh.
and I'm failing a class, and
Uh-huh.
I'm late, and I'm trying to get to a test, and for some reason I can't get to the test. And then I know I have to run back to the Israeli consulate and forgot to check in. And so I may not get my paycheck. And then I'm running because all I want is a slice of pizza, but I can't find my car. It's been stolen. And I got to get to a MARTA station. And I can't find the station. I have my cell phone, but for some reason can't put the number in and can't do it right. And I talked to my therapist, and he told me I needed to he was telling me how to gestalt this psychologist, my dream to see yourself as an observer and not as a participation. And he told me to keep practicing it in my dream. It's possible to do that. And because
What do you
I've
think
done
your
it
dream
before.
is?
Oh, it was just uh, dreams of fear of failure, basically, what it really boiled down to.
Yeah,
And
I would kind of suggest that you consider that the dream set at Morehouse, an institution of learning, suggests that you feel like you have not learned the things you need to learn to navigate your life with power and purpose.
mhm.
That it is because it is a place of education, you are trying to go back into student mode so that you can learn these things. I mean, the car not starting is an obvious, metaphor for the difficulties that you're having with your car, right now. Just,
Well, the
you
car was stolen
transportation in
again,
the 90s,
again.
right?
Yes.
You're afraid of failing your family. You're
Hmm.
afraid of not having your dreams. There's all those things, and you're starting to wonder whether or not there are things you could learn that will make this better. Actually, you're not starting to wonder. You've been wondering that for a while. What you're starting to do is to interrogate that and ask, well, what kinds of things would I need to learn? That what is it that would enable me? That if you believe in your computer, and I think you should, then the question is, what kind of software are you running? See, if you think it's a hardware problem, you might feel stuck. But if you think it's software, you can clean up your hard drive. You can get new programs.
Hmm.
So what we're offering you here is a new program that demands that you find other programs. So it's not come to Steve and get what Steve has. It's okay, consider what Steve is saying, but you need to find mentors who can solve the specific things that you're trying to do, utilizing the same basic principles. If you take a look at Tananarive, what she does, she starts with a powerful emotion in her work. And then she has a skill to turn that powerful emotion into a structure that becomes a book. If you look at the beginning of Think and Grow Rich, they say to start with a powerful emotion. What an
Hmm.
intense desire. So the rules of success, once you start searching for them, look at what is constant between different arenas. Those are the generative principles. Then begin to apply them to your specific arena and apply them to your specific life. You're going to have to take general principles and adapt them. The same way you might have to take a recipe and realize, something, I have an allergy to nutmeg, so I can't use nutmeg. What purpose does nutmeg serve in this recipe? How can I replace nutmeg with something that doesn't hurt me? And so you will fiddle with the recipe until it's nothing but ingredients that go down smooth and a taste that you like. I can offer you general principles, but you have to make them specific by looking at other people who have succeeded. So in terms of, you got three different arenas that we want you to aim at getting into better shape, because the body, everything about the body in that sense is quantifiable. You get on the scale, you're either this weight or that weight. Take a blood test, it's quantifiable. But changing your body will change everything else about you, because you can't do that without different disciplines and different emotions, different values, different perceptions, different knowledge base. In terms of your emotions, you want to help shepherd your family, your sons, but you also want love. So we see we've never discussed that. But I'm going to start with the assumption that you do, and that we want you to have a healthy relationship with someone who you cherish and who cherishes you. In order to do that, you have to fall in love with yourself a little bit more. You have to have that sense of of knowing you've always done the best you could with the resources you have, and you are 100% worthy of love. And then you have to look, once you've got your body at that higher level, more energy, and that sense of self-love to the point that it's easier for you to defend yourself, to fight to defend your dreams. Now let's talk about money. So, a year from now, what would your money goals be? What would get you to a different place in your life? Doesn't have to, not the final place, but what is a solid progression beyond where you are right now? What would make you look back over a year and be proud?
The okay, the last portion, you said what would be a solid progression? What would make me look back over the year and be proud, you said?
Yes.
My solid progression would be to continue the writings, to submit.
No, 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 no. We're talking about money.
Oh, money. Um, if the things will work out the way they should work out, I should. If you're asking for a figure,
That's
is
right.
that where
Money
you're asking
doesn't
for a
come in
figure?
denominations of more or enough. It comes in fives and tens. Now you could say a percentage. You say I'd like to increase my income by 50%. That's okay because
Okay,
I'm not looking to get in your business. I'm looking
correct.
for you to get in your business.
This year, with the remains of this year, I expect
No, I said
from
in a year from today.
oh, a year
What
from
would,
today, I expect
that's
to
right.
have a gig
No, no, no.
that's
How
going to
much
pay
money do you
65 grand. I need.
okay, you need to make 60, you want to make $65,000 in the next 12 months. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right. Now, that's a good number. That's a good number. Working backwards from there, you can then take a look at the opportunities and the actions that would help you to do that. In order to do that, I need to, if you increased by 1% efficiency every week between now and then, would that be enough to get you there? Or do you need to improve faster than that?
No, I need 5% a day.
Not 5% a day. Nobody can change that fast. Can't do it.
Okay.
That would rip you to pieces. But
That's probably why I'm being ripped to pieces emotionally and having bad dreams at night.
yeah. So
Um, so the
so if you
1% is good.
improve by 1%, let's say you were willing to you could improve by 1% a day. If you could do that, that's first of all, that's a fantastic rate. 5% a week. Do the math on that. That is a huge amount of change. You could not do that unless you were being extremely careful to center and clean your mind every day because it would turn you into somebody you don't know. And
Yeah.
ego
What is it?
fear would be massive, but it's possible. So let me ask you a question. If you improved 1% per week, where would you be in a year?
In the year my LLC would be back up because I'd be able to raise the $550, um, state fee. The I got an endorsement from the city of College Park, Georgia,
So
where
I
I
guess
live,
I
to do
guess
a
I'm
motion.
asking you, if you need to make $65,000 in the next year, if you were to improve 1% per week, where would your money be? What would that number be, do you think? And we're just talking about I'm looking at the way you think and feel about it as much as looking for information about what the
I
objective
don't
is.
understand what you're saying. 1% a week.
Yeah, 1% a week. You've
Oh,
got
I get it.
1%
I
a
get it
week.
now. I get what you're saying now. So there are 52 weeks in a year,
That's right.
and I want to make $65,000
That's right. And 1%
by the
improvement per
end of
week
the year.
comes to about 75% improvement in a year.
Exactly. So I need to be making with the project at least an extra grand a week
Okay.
for a
So what
business
I
model,
asked
from
you
the
is
hustle.
focus. Focus,
Hmm.
Mo. You know what your current income is.
Hmm.
If you improve by 1% per week, What would your income be over the next 12 months?
It would, uh, give me a second. 1% a week, that's 52%.
No, it's not. It's about
Uh, uh,
75% because it's compounds.
okay, so 30. Um, 2012. Thanks, Steve. You got me messed up right now. You're making me do math. The exact figure. What I
No,
do know,
I'm not looking for an exact figure. I'm looking for you to grasp that you lack clarity so that you
hmm,
can make a commitment to be clear because that's the first step. Where do you want to go? You have to make up your mind. Otherwise, you'll drive in circles until you run out of gas. So, roughly speaking, if you improve by 75%,
hmm,
what do you make over the next 12 months?
over the next 12 months, if I improve by 75%, over the next 12 months, it would be 50,000, close to 60,000.
Okay. So, I want you to aim at nothing more than improving by 1% per week.
Okay.
Every week, and you will do that by getting your 5%, your 5 minutes in the morning, and
Oh,
knowing
that's
what you're going to
important.
do by 1 o'clock to improve your financial position by 1% a week. What are you going to do? There's going to be a phone call you need to make, a plan you need to make, something you need to learn, an action you need to take, a thought you need to have, an emotion you need to deal with, a person you need to reconnect with. It'll be something, one small step, because momentum builds momentum. Momentum, just like 1% is not 52% a year, it's closer to 50 to 75%. Somebody do the math and drop it in the chat if you would. I don't remember what the exact numbers involved are, but that's all you're trying to do. What did you do? What are you going to do today to improve by 1% this week? What are you going to do today to improve by 1% this week? That's all you need to do. And a human being that can see and feel their improvement is a happy camper. When you are improving and you can feel it, you're happy.
Steve, I want to say sometimes and I don't know who else may have had this experience, when all of a sudden a blessing out of the blue comes where you didn't expect it,
Hmm.
and you don't know, sometimes um, you're just like, I'm in shock that this happened. And I don't necessarily believe this can happen. And I started to learn to accept the blessings
Yes.
when they come, even with like with the car being down and everything else, because there are some neighbors, the elders, who depend on me. But if they had to make me walk a half
So, what is
mile,
your question?
um, has that ever happened to anyone when you get a blessing so overwhelming
Yes.
that it confuses you? That's
Yes.
it. It
Absolutely. Because
confuses
it
you.
doesn't match your self image, it doesn't
Mm,
match your view of the world. You have compromised your dreams, you've made yourself small so that you don't get hurt.
mm.
Faith demands trust. The doorway to faith is being grateful for what you already have. Okay? The magic formula absolutely weaponizes serendipity. That when you have a clear role model for what you're trying to accomplish, you're taking daily actions, you're flooding yourself with gratitude, you have clear intentions, and you are acting in alignment with both the child you were and the elder you're going to be on your deathbed. When you've got those 5 things going and you don't have a zero in any one of those categories, you're in the game. By the time you have 5 out of 10 in all those categories, you're going to start experiencing serendipity. It
That
just
is what's been
starts
happening.
happening. So your task is to get your first 5 minutes straight. That's your only task in terms of what I'm concerned with, because it's the only thing that I can quantify and hold you to. By the time you breathe, grateful for life. Heartbeat, grateful for love and the people that you love and who love you. Light, and be grateful for clarity about what you're going to be in a year. and what you need to do today to move forward at least 1% per week. Write it down. Do a sun salutation. Those are the 5 things that you do. And what I'm telling you is you cannot do that for a couple weeks without noticing change. You will not be able to do that. That as you do that, you'll start getting this, whoa, what's going on here? Be grateful for it. Be at peace with it. You're learning who you are and what life is. And there will be downturns. That's life too. Your task is to handle the piece of it you can control. Don't worry about what you can't control. The more you focus on what you can control, the more the world gives you gifts. Because
I'd
you're
like
in
to.
alignment with nature.
Mhm.
You're learning how to put your sails so that they catch the wind, to lever your solar panels so that they catch the sun. There's nothing supernatural about this. It is being in alignment with your nature. Okay?
Okay. I
So,
do have one thing to say,
yeah, please.
asking I think what you told us, writing the child story, um, the life story and the obituary, and then the
No, child
warrior
story, obituary, and your
obit,
warrior's commitment to protect that
obit,
child.
and obituary, and
So the
warrior.
obituary is the largest thing, maybe 3 pages, because you're going to write down everything you want to be, have, and do between now and the day you die. So you're going to want to visualize your sons being healed and healthy and grown and married and have their own grandchildren. You want to, be hale and healthy up until the month that you die. And you want to have the financial success that enables money to be a tool rather than an obstacle.
Do you
So
think that is something that's when I'm asking, this is the ask. Do you think that this is something that I can also share with CJ
let's
to
wait
do
until you've
together?
done it successfully.
So wait until I've
Yes,
done it
don't try to teach
successfully to
things
do
you
it.
don't know.
Well, there you go. There, it's very funny when you had said that. I remember there was a Viking saying, "The gods in their wisdom, and the gods in their wisdom put death at the end of life." And so, and so when you talk about writing your obituary and looking at your life before that,
Then
your life,
I would
I'm sorry.
strongly suggest that you go to YouTube and look up some of the videos they have there on Stoic thought. There are some terrific videos. They use some AI animation. Don't worry about that. And I listen to one of them every day because it is a common language between me and my son. So the clarity that I have in general is a useful thing, but it's of limited use when speaking to other people. You have to understand what their language is. So first, master it yourself. So that get the first 5 minutes, write your child story, obituary and warrior commitment until it's clear. Okay, then maybe you can give that. But he's still a kid in that sense. He's not ready to
Yeah.
look at the rest of that stuff. But you can give him the first 5 minutes. If you do that, you're giving him tools that really, just quite frankly, the majority of people don't have.
I want to thank you, Steve, and the Fire Dance family. As I've been really applying myself these past few weeks, months, the months and everything, but I'm being consistent now and really trying to get CJ motivated, but I'm not trying to be, doing my Marine Corps training on him, but I am demanding he has to get up, make his bed, do his morning chores, and that's all Daddy is asking. So I appreciate everything you're saying to me
You bet, buddy.
right now.
One of the
And
things that the
Rebecca,
Stoics, one of the things that the Stoics say is, waste no time arguing about what a good man is. Be
mm,
one. Teach by example. Teach
mhm.
by you guys, quite frankly, if I had not recovered from my death experience, if I was not a successful writer, if I didn't have 3 black belts, if I wasn't married to my soulmate and we were happy together, why the hell would any of you listen to me? I mean that. What we're looking for is what's the way out of the box. The way to get out of the box is written. The secret of getting out of the box is written on the outside of the box. Find other people who've gotten out of the box and let them read to you what's written on the outside. Simple as
Um,
that.
That
So
this
be that bitch. Your son needs you to be a man in that particular way. He loves you. He's a baby duckling. He will follow you anywhere. So be sure you're going somewhere worth going. Are we clear?
we're very clear.
Excellent.
And everything you said, and CJ and I do sit down and we look at certain things and bring up emotions. We talk. We actually watched The Life of Brian, and I told
Fun
him,
movie.
yeah, and we actually used that movie when I was in school. I had a
Always
graduating
look on the
class.
bright side of life.
Yeah, that's what I told him. I don't care what anybody says. I ain't no gospel when I go out in the casket. I want that song.
There you go. That's right.
That's my casket exit.
There you go. So what I will say to you is that you, at this moment, you actually are clearer than you've been.
Oh my,
Your
it's
words
wonderful.
and your facial expression and your
Hey,
body
look at my
language.
face. I used to
That's
look
right.
thin and gaunt.
You're more aligned with your heart. But what you need to understand is you will fall off that horse, and it's okay. You wait for it. Premeditatio malorum is what the Stoics say. Know that life will knock you over, and you say to yourself, the next time life knocks me over, my task will be to notice faster than I used to notice, get back on
Mhm,
the horse, and then I will notice how long it took me to get back on, and
mhm,
how well I'm seated on the horse, whether or not fear stopped me. It's in having those constant daily experiments. How many pages do you need to write? How much exercise do you need to do? How much time do you need with your loved ones to protect that? Now, how did I get in my own way? Why did I get in my own way? It's the rarest of human mental qualities called metacognition.
yeah.
Observing your
Mhm,
thoughts, thinking
mhm.
about the fact that you think in the way that you're thinking. A person with a 70 IQ who thinks about the fact that they think, if they can get themselves that far, could find themselves running a little hot dog cart and supporting a family because they
Oh,
think
yeah.
about what they're doing. Okay? They don't have a huge amount of tools. They're good at the tools they've got. Use the tools you have. My take on you is that you're a very bright man, but you're dealing with a lot of self conflicts that are contrary to you being the man that you were born to be. So this is not about you gathering new resources. It's about you removing, it ain't what you don't know that hurts you. It's what you do know that ain't so.
Yes,
We need
sir.
we need you to do that. Tananarive, come on back on.
I am here. Whoop.
Do you have any closing words for us, sweetheart?
Well, hey, everybody. I guess
And
now all that's left is for you all to go out and be the hero or heroine in your own story.
The hero in the adventure of your lifetime. Remember, go
But
to lifewrite.com, go to warrior-walk.com, look at that book. We want everybody on this call to have a copy of that, and we will give you a copy if you cannot afford it. So do that. I mean that. And have a wonderful, wonderful week. Now let's have everybody unmute yourselves and say goodbye.
bye
goodbye.
bye.
Wait, what you got the Chuck
Bye,
Norris story?
everyone.
Bye,
The
Oh,
Chuck
okay,
Norris
the
everybody.
Chuck
story.
Norris story. I
Huh?
will tell you the Chuck Norris story. Back when, well, there's two of them. One that was an episode of Room 222, the
Mhm.
old dramedy that was shot at my high school, and I got a screen test to be in it. And while I was there, I pitched them an episode about a kid who was bullied, who studies karate and becomes a bully himself, and they stole my idea. And the karate instructor in that it was on the air within a few months, and the karate instructor was played by Chuck Norris. It was one of his first roles. Um, I had two choices. One, I could get angry. The other, I could say, "Huh, I have ideas worth stealing." I chose the second approach. The other was when my karate instructor, Steve Sanders at the time, was competing. And there was a lot of racism in judging, you know, not to say that it doesn't exist now, but there was more of it then. And the judges would not call his strikes. He hit his opponent over and over again. They would not flag him. Chuck Norris, who had retired from competition at that time, was sitting in the front row. And finally, utterly disgusted with what he saw, he stood up and said, "Give that man his goddamn points." And the judges started giving him his points. And Steve won. Regardless of anything else, I will always respect his sense of honor about what is and is not true in the arena that he loved the most, which was the martial arts. That's my Chuck Norris
Incredible.
story.
When I was a kid in junior high school, The Octagon came out, and I forgot the other movie. And in Eastern New Jersey at the Hollywood Theater, Chuck Norris was there doing, his promotion for it. This is before digital cameras and everything else. And we did not know Chuck Norris was going to be there. This theater was one of those theaters you pay and you see three martial arts films every Saturday. And the other thing, like you said, racism in 1975, my sensei, Dr. Alvin Cook, competed for the exhibition of the U.S. karate team in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And the person who lost to him was sent by mistake. The white guy who was sent by mistake by the city and everything.
Okay.
So that's my stories.
All right. Take care, everybody. I'll see you later. Got to take this call.